working out again after I just got out of practice, and he's the one trying to like fight or bicker with me, like, yo, come inside, like what are you doing? And it just, it felt like he just wanted me to live out life through his perspective. Media perspective.
Yeah, that's gotta be like the intro, like just that part right there. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of As Creatives, the podcast. This is episode 2 with my boy Naguy here with us today, and we're gonna be talking about some things. But first and foremost, please introduce yourself.
Sir.
Talk to me a little bit about just who you are as a person, what's brought you to this point in your life, really in general. What are some of those kind of key moments for you that kind of put you on the path that you feel like you're currently going on right now?
Okay. What's good, everybody? This is, the biggest P, perspective, Naguy. Number 3-4, JR. I have so many names. It's so funny.
Yeah, I feel like the couple times that we've been walking on campus and stuff, I feel like people are dapping you up and it's like a different name. And I'm just like, this guy's got a name for everything.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, man, this is the guy here, ultimately the creator of Perspective, student athlete, whatever you know me as, man, a hooper. There's so many, I guess, titles that I ultimately have. My most recent project, and the project that has the majority of my attention right now, is Perspective. Perspective is ultimately a community of people who are goal-oriented individuals who are looking to live out life through their own desires, their own dreams, right? There's not a right or wrong way of doing life, living life. It's all, life's about perspective. It depends on how you see it. So I came up with this idea of perspective actually through a very personal experience that I had when I was younger. I'm an athlete. I play basketball. I felt that I wasn't supported at home on my father's side, and he had his perspective on life, on how life should be, how I should go about things, where I should be devoting ultimately my intentions or my attention, and it was not where I wanted it to be. I was, I want to say like early age, like late middle school, early high school, was when I started devoting myself to basketball. And what I mean by devoting myself, like just, making basketball my life, working out, playing ultimately with the goal and the intentions of playing ultimately in college for free one day. And I made that happen. And that life comes, it doesn't come with a sacrifice, but it comes with dedication into your craft. And I felt that my dad was against me at some times. I felt that I'd come home from practice and I'd have another workout outside in the house. It's like 9-10 p.m. I'm working out again after I just got out of practice, and he's the one trying to like fight or bicker with me, like, yo, come inside, like what are you doing? And it just, it felt like he just wanted me to live out life through his perspective. And that was a tough battle, man. I didn't feel, not feeling supported is something that became normal at a certain time. But it was a tough understanding of like, yo, why are you not supporting me? Why are you not allowing me to see things or live through my own desires, my own dreams, my own perspective ultimately? And that's kind of like the vulnerable side of it. But ultimately, I'm just big on, life's about perspective. It depends on how you see it. There's people who are lawyers, there's people who are athletes, there's people who are musicians. Like, is there a right way of doing things? Not necessarily. So that's my project that I'm working on right now, Perspective. But yeah, man, I could talk all day. So talk to me.
Well, I'm curious to know, and thank you for that, because actually I didn't actually know about the sort of, I guess, origin story of then the sort of what kind of got you into that mindset of like thinking about things from different points of view through perspective. So I appreciate that. And I guess what I'm also curious to know is enlighten us a bit about sort of like your current goals for
Mhm.
perspective,
Mhm.
and then also your long-term goals. Where do you want
Of
this thing
course.
to be in like 10, 15, 20
Of
years?
course, of course. Man, I was honestly, I wish I had my notebook in front of me so I could really
Oh,
give
he's
you
got
the,
it like
you know, I got it real structured at the crib, you know.
yeah.
But ultimately, I guess what before perspective, all right, who's Naguy Herrera Jr. before perspective? I'm in college, I'm a college athlete, at Lehman, um, and I'm an athlete, I'm a businessman, I have all these titles that ultimately create my characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
So, very goal oriented, very dream driven, right? Like I have this goal of playing college basketball. I made that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it's funny. By the way, that was the first time I ever said that anywhere on camera or like
Really
on, yeah, I never really talked about that.
exclusives.
But one of the things that was another one of my perspectives was when I was away, I was at a school in Florida, and like I had these experiences where people would say like, we're just broke college students, we're just broke college students, and then it was like, yo, I came out with that perspective like, yo, we don't, that doesn't have to be true. We don't
Yeah.
have to be broke college students. Like that stigma is just a perspective. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and me being the person who I am, super goal oriented, super organized, super, if I have an idea and if I think about something, I'm going to run with it. If I want to do something, I do it. I live in a very abundant way. I started getting into business. I got into business. So I actually started my first company, which was a vending machine company. Right, I was really big into making money. I was like, yo, like, why do the whole concept of being a broke college student was something that I was just not on board with. I'm like, yo, bro, like, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that we can do? I'll give you guys an insight as to my thinking. I was like, okay, I'm not your average college student, one, because I'm an athlete. That alone brings its own world of responsibilities, things I have to do, things I have to stay in alignment with, which makes it somewhat harder than the average student because it's like we have more responsibility. And then I was like, how is it that if the average college student is considered like, not striving financially, how am I going to do it if
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have more time than them? I have less time than them, if anything. So
Yeah.
then, I got into the ideology of like, okay, how can I make money without giving up time? And then that's when I found out like passive businesses, right? And again, shout out YouTube University. I'm literally like on YouTube on
Yes,
this,
sir.
but before the Chat GPT era, because now it's
Mm-hmm.
we could talk about that.
Oh yeah.
Now it gets crazy, but ultimately, I started doing my research, and what I found myself finding was like, yo, like I could get into stocks.
Mm.
Oh, I could get into like a vending machine service. Why? Because you don't got to be there to make money, right? And
Mhm.
I was like, oh, okay, this is fire. And then I heard about like more things, right? So as the person that I am, organized, structured, very goal oriented and driven, I was like, yo, bro, like let's do it. What's my first steps? Like, yo, I want to do this thing. I want to get away from this stigma. I want to live life through my own perspective, my own desires and my own dreams. Like, what do we got to do to make this happen? And the law of attraction. Shout out the law of attraction. You want something, I got in alignment with it. Like I literally, I don't want to go too deep into the story, but ultimately, I got into the vending machine business. I used to go to a gym, and out in BK every day.
Mm.
I was an athlete. I was working out every single day.
Right.
This is a little bit post COVID era, so all the water fountains are closed, all of that stuff, and it's like it's in the winter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, bro, I'm not going outside. I'm not sweating and then gonna put my coat on to go get like some water or Gatorade or something. And I ended up just talking to the owners, bro. I talked to the owners, I introduced the idea to them. Mind you, had no experience of a vending machine. I had my notes at the crib, what machines are good and, based
Right.
off what YouTube people are saying. But
Yeah.
it could have been all been
Who knows?
lies,
Yeah.
But ultimately, I ended up taking that step, making that move happen. And I got into the vending machine space. My first machine was my experimental machine, literally. Like I learned, I learned the ups and downs of that business in that space. But again, maybe towards the second half of the season, or maybe closer to the ending, I was on autopilot. I was able to get away from the stigma of like, hey, we're broke college students. Like, yo, I had a whole passive revenue income coming into me with something that I visited twice a month. It gave me the time to still go to practice, not miss no games, and still be a student.
Yeah.
And now I've created this whole world, this whole lifestyle, just based off one of my desires, bro. So again, you know, outside of perspective, who I was before that, I'm a businessman. I'm a dreamer who ultimately gets, you know, my desires are met, my intentions are met. So that's one thing. And then I could sit here and talk about how I got into the car rental service.
Oh,
you know?
man, this guy's
I
a
could
true
tell you so
entrepreneur.
much. Yeah.
True entrepreneur.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I love that. And I think that there are vital skills that you get out of those. I guess in the grand scheme of the world, it technically are the smaller sides of entrepreneurship, but there are skills in that help you grow into these bigger and more ambitious, you know, projects, you know, as an entrepreneur as a whole. So yeah, actually, once again, I mean, these are all, and this is also the thing I love about this podcast really in general. A lot of the people that I intend to bring on are friends of mine, but there's still pieces of them I don't quite know, because we just don't have that time sometimes to be able to sit down, have a meaningful conversation with everything aside, you know, and really just talk about whether it's origin stories, you know, these little stories that they have and experiences along the way. So this is why another reason why I love this podcast. But that's so interesting though, that so would you say that those are the accompanied with the sort of the perspective that you had, you know, being a lot younger, now being in college, trying out all of these different sort of, I guess, like side hustles, I guess you could say, in a sense, has that then transitioned into perspective just as a whole, or is that something that's like separate, but like you're working at both of them? Like, talk to me a little bit in terms of structuring yourself in that sense. What's that looking like?
I'll be completely honest. I think that perspective, it's not that it worked hand in hand. I feel like perspective is the end result. Does that make sense?
Interesting. Yeah.
It's like perspective is the reflection of all the things that I've done in my life already, right? Because they all started with a perspective. It all started with this like ideology or this mindset of like, yo, I'm gonna do this thing, and no one has to agree with me for me to do it. I'm gonna just go out and make it work, make it, you know. So the brand perspective was kind of like all of these experiences that I had, you know, wanting to play college basketball, doing it, wanting to break the stigma of like a broke college student doing it. And it was like, that's what I'm looking to do. I want to show people, you can live whatever life you want. You are you are limitless. There's no real rules. There's not a right or wrong as to how you live life. And I want to use my story ultimately to reflect that, project that, and push that narrative. But there's definitely little characteristics that like go in and out and everything. Like, you know, starting with basketball, being extremely disciplined at that. Being able to overcome your emotion in certain places allows me to do that in business. Doing that in business allows me to maybe be fearless and even coming out with this project of perspective, because I think that there's a lot of great people out there that don't have similar characteristics to me, that have great ideas, and it's like, yo, only if you had this maybe, you know, extrovertedness, or like this you know, this I'm willing to overcome my emotion or fear or whatever. I wish you had that thing, because that's the thing that makes you go over the edge. So I can definitely sit here and say that various characteristics of each like part of my life have connected and made me who I am today, for sure. 100%.
I love that. And I guess just because I do have a sort of a bit of knowledge in terms of the sort of, well, let's talk about this. So us first getting to know each other, and by the way, we also have a podcast episode that we did for the Perspective channel as well. So depending on the timing of when things get posted and stuff like that, it may be in the description. If not, be on the lookout. We'll put information down below though, so you could find it. If not quite yet, but we mentioned on there just in terms of like our origin story, in terms of our relationship. But I did mention, and this will kind of help me transition a little bit here into, I felt that you were the prime example in terms of people that I just know personally. You are the prime example of the person that it's like, if you have this person in your corner, they will connect you to a multitude of things. They have this array, this system almost, if you will, of people, literal contacts of people that if it's like, hey, listen, I need, I don't know, I need someone to help me shoot this event or whatever. I know I can go to Naguy and he'll make it work. He'll make it happen. Or he'll just send me some resources. Like, like he'll give me something in that sense. Because first off, you're just extremely helpful. Just as an individual, always willing to help out other people, and put them on the map if possible and stuff like that is always a blessing. Not many people do that, honestly, because we live in a world right now where a lot of people are trying to, naturally so, they're trying to do their own thing. They're trying to make things happen, and a lot of times it feels a bit secluded. It's a solo show, and it's only about themselves. And when we first met, it immediately, the sort of vibe that I got and the sort of the way I sort of framed you in my mind was like, this is the person, just super humble in the sense of like, he's willing to help you out in whatever fashion that he can. And just the end-all, be-all moral here is just networking. The idea of networking and being connected with multiple people and not being afraid to sort of kind of put yourself out there, talk with people, and connect with them in that sense. So to transition a little bit here, because I'm curious to hear your thoughts. First off, what is the idea of networking to you just as a whole, right? Because I think this, for me, I was thinking about this the other day too, of just like, at least early on when I was a lot younger, I would always hear, whether it was like teachers or like adults or whatever, they would be like, oh, make sure you network. I would always hear this word network, and I feel like they would never necessarily explain, like, what do you mean by that? What's the sort of process in which, like, you go about that? Like, I feel like it's this very kind of, in a way, blanket term if you're not necessarily in the space or you're doing something and you start to kind of put two and two together of like, oh yeah, I need to kind of like, and I won't dive into it because I want to hear your thoughts on that. But yeah, so what's the idea of networking for you? How did that sort of start for you in terms of your mindset of being able to connect with other people, and really just not being afraid to kind of speak out, talk with someone, and really get to know them and so on and so forth. So talk to me about that.
So I'll tell you what networking is to me, and then I'll kind of give you an idea of how I started to make it work. So networking to me is, by the way, perspective is a network, right? What do I mean by a network? I'm talking about, it's either, if you think about it in terms of like, a TV network, it's basically a whole bunch of programming, a whole bunch of shows or channels that ultimately have maybe a niche or something that relates. When I think about networking for myself and people, I'm thinking about just like meeting people from all sides of the world, that have something similar to me. They're an extension of me, ultimately. And I think that the whole ideology that your network is your net worth is really important. Why? Because I am someone who believes that that I've learned that, again, nothing is absolute. Like, it's not all about hard work, and it's not all about who you know. I think that a mix of that is what ultimately drives you to that level of success that you're looking for. Why? Because from my experience, having plugs, having people that know other people, might get me in the door, might get me that interview, might get me that roster spot. It might even get me that tryout, just from my experience. Me talking to people, putting myself out there, has allowed me to strive way more than maybe being in solitude and just locking in by myself and working out and going hard. Right. Yeah, that'll make me better, but it's like, if you're not going, and I talk in terms of sport, right, because I'm an athlete, it's like, if you work out every single day and you don't network at all, you don't talk to coaches, you don't talk to, other athletes and things of that nature, like, how far can you really go? Even getting into college basketball, and I'll give you guys like a little, some game right here. Getting into college basketball is probably like 80% networking. What do I mean by that? How do you get on a college team? Like a lot of college teams have a tryout because it's mandated. I'll be
Oh,
honest. A lot of
interesting.
coaches already know who their team is.
Wow.
And I'll tell you,
I like this.
this is at every school.
Yeah.
I'm giving you like the real insight. Like every school, Division 1 to Division 3, NAIA, whatever. And how do you even get in a coach's radar? Like, how does a coach find out about me? Like, I want to go to this school. How do I even, how do I go? Do I just sign up and just go and go to tryouts and hopefully he sees me? Yeah, you can go that route. Or you can network. You could probably try to email the coach before you get there and show him like a highlight film of yourself, or maybe you can, if you know a player that goes there and that player can ultimately, get the coach's attention to maybe so he can give you some attention. Or for an example, I'm not a photographer. I'm not a videographer. I'm just Naguy Herrera Jr. I had an event for Perspective. I needed people to shoot the event. So what did I do? I networked. I went and talked to people, regardless if talking, regardless if it's DMing, regardless if it's just ultimately capturing someone else or something else's attention. And it's not using it, but it's more understanding how you can add value to them so that they can add value to you. Period. And that comes, again, in the form of an event, in the form of sports, in the form of whatever. Hey, I need access to these cameras. Oh, I know somebody who has cameras.
Yeah.
Before networking, right? Networking is kind of the act of, like, talking to that person, or the act of, like, even asking, even whatever that thing is, right? It could be a DM, it could be whatever. Like, it's like you wouldn't have access to that if you didn't know this person who,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's what networking is to me. And I think that the way that I got good at networking, and good is a judgment, I'm very extroverted. Not many people know I used to flip back from New York and Florida very often when I was younger. Yeah, like I've done all levels of school in both places.
Oh, wow.
I've done anywhere from middle school, high school, and college, both in Florida and in New York. Almost an equal set of time in both.
Why the flip around?
So my parents broke up when I was younger.
Gotcha.
That's not a vulnerable conversation. I'm just like, it ain't about nothing. My dad used to live out in Florida. My mom lived out in New York.
Gotcha.
I guess I was with my mom most of the time. But I'd visit my dad in Florida every like summer, every like little Christmas or whatever.
Right.
I'd go out and visit him, and being in new environment again, right? Like constantly in new environment. Like obviously I'm going back and forth with environments that I know, but I'm growing up. So like I might have a friend that I met in summer in Florida, and I saw him when I was like 7 or 8. But like the next time I saw him now, I'm like 12 or 13. And,
times change.
Times change, and like maybe that person doesn't live there or whatever. It could be so many scenarios. I'm a person who always wants to feel comfortable. I want to feel, I don't know if you know about Tony Robbins' human needs, 6 human needs. And one of the things that I like to feel is certainty and significance.
Interesting.
All right. So those are some of the things that I like to feel. And a way that I can get to feeling that is by being, it's not accepted in my environment. It's more, recognized in my environment. Like, hey, if I'm around people and we're at the park and we're playing football, like I'm gonna show you guys I'm good at this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that requires you to be a little bit extroverted. I'm not waiting for somebody to go talk to me. I'm the one who will start the conversation. So I can go super deep into that, but
that, and actually, because that was actually going to be my next question of just like the idea of networking really in general. Is that a skill that can be taught? And I think you're sort of kind of leaning into that a little bit of like, there is a certain level of extrovertedness that you need to have. And to put it blunt, almost kind of get over yourself, of like, get over that just like that bubble that you find yourself sort of in, and really kind of step out and not be afraid to kind of speak to someone. But I'll let you sort of answer this question of like, does networking, is that sort of a skill? Is that something that can be taught? And is there, almost like a kind of like a skill gap? Is there sort of like this, like, you're kind of good at it, but then there are the improvements that you can make, and this is what the best people are doing, and there's like these little tidbits that you can kind of take away. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I definitely think that it's everything comes more natural to some people than others. That just regardless if it's sport, regardless if it's art, there's everyone has and this is why I'm a big advocate for the ideology that like everyone has a gift. Everyone has something that they're good at, and your judgment of the gift, if you consider it a gift, is your own perspective. But yeah, I definitely think that networking is or extrovertedness helps networking for sure, but networking is definitely a skill that can be worked on.
Yeah,
for sure, like 100%. Regardless of what route you want to take, I definitely think that it's a skill that can be worked on. I definitely think that some people are maybe better at it than others, and I also believe that, again, if you want to be better, if you see the benefits of this thing, if you desire this thing, right? If you understand, hey, this thing can help me get from point A to point B, and I need to work on this thing so that I can get from point A to point B. I can go into like what are some things that you can do ultimately to be better at that. Being extroverted. Even the idea of extroverted versus introverted is a judgment, and it's a labeling, because I'm the type of person who my belief system is that nothing is absolute. Like nothing is 100% true. Nothing is 100% false. So, it's not like I'm 100% extroverted. I definitely have my moments where I'm like, yo, I'm not really trying to, I'm trying to be in my own bubble here. Like I ain't really trying to talk to nobody. But I definitely understand the value of being extroverted. I understand that I can be a conversation starter, and how starting that conversation can lead to something else. And now I got this person's contact. And now if I need this thing that this person does, I'm able to contact them. It's really that simple. And again, using it to your own benefit. I mean, as harsh, as crucial, as crazy as it sounds, like it's a style. It's how these top 500 companies are built. They're built off network. Everything is built off networking.
Who
you have the idea, but maybe you don't know how to carve wood. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna need to meet someone who knows how to carve wood, and the act of going to do that is the networking. For sure. So yeah, bro, I think that's some things that people can do. If I was to say what type of skill networking is, it's funny. It's like a lot of psychological tricks.
Interesting.
And it's funny because I love psychology, but I haven't, outside of like school, I haven't really studied psychology, and that's the next thing I'm gonna get into, like ultimately, so to make perspective pretty cool and stuff. But if someone didn't want to go to those depths of studying psychology, it's just I guess networking is your ability to interact with, and I think that the best example would be with people. Is your ability to go into a room full of people and not only be confident enough to like go into the room, because I understand how that can be somewhat nerve-wracking, or like maybe super judgmental of yourself, like, oh, they're gonna think this about me, they're gonna think that about me. It's almost like you said earlier, it's like letting go of that. Right. Those are some of the skills that are one of the skills that a tip that I would give someone who's looking to ultimately become a better communicator, someone who's better at networking. I'll give you some strong points, and it's not things that you need. It's not a requirement. It's more of like some teaching points. Working on your confidence. How do you work on your confidence, right? I think that one of the ways that you can work on your confidence is just jumping off the ledge. Don't even think. I think our thinking stops most of our action. Having a habit, right? Again, getting into this like ideology of habits, like having a habit of overriding your thoughts, taking action as a means of getting out of your own head. Right. I think that it's very normal and natural, and even for the most confident, and even for the best networker in the world, he has moments where he's maybe unconfident or maybe he's nervous. But it's the ability to overcome that. I heard CP3 say, Chris Paul, like, he's an NBA vet. He's been in the league for years, and he still says that he gets nervous before games.
Interesting.
That's crazy. And it's like, you would have thought someone who's playing at the highest level and has been doing this for so many years doesn't experience that, but they do. He probably just has some type of system that ultimately allows him to overcome whatever's going on in his head or whatever feelings he's feeling. So adapting, understanding like what type of networker you want to be, right? Like, okay, why do you want to meet people? Oh, I want to meet people to, expand my business. Well, then don't be scared to talk about your business. Or maybe, maybe it's not that you're scared. Maybe your wordplay is not good, right? Maybe you're confident as can be, but you're not, you don't like the ability for you to put words together. Work on that.
Figure it out beforehand. It's like the elevator pitch, right? Of like something you can sort of, if you know that, and just backing off of that idea of like, first off, knowing your sort of flaws in that sort of realm, right? Of speaking with someone. Okay.
Self-awareness.
It's like, first off, you kind of have to go into it, figure out where your issues are, and take note of that. Be very critical of yourself of like, okay, I felt like I was stumbling a lot with just explaining what I'm doing. Okay, if that's the case, then next time, when you're completely alone,
shorter.
You can shorten it down. You can literally script it out if you really must. Practice it. Get used to just talking about your own self and what you're doing and what maybe your business may be and what you need help with, so that when you come to it, like you're saying, you already have that habit built in. It's already in your mind. It's second nature at that point. Now you don't have to worry about that too much. Now, if you want to worry about something, it won't be that. And so at least that first sort of initial impression will be good.
Yeah.
Now, after that, again, you continue to sort of refine it and compound over that of just like, okay, next part that I noticed after I kind of gotten over that part was like their response afterwards, right? Like just like being able to maybe ask proper questions. Okay, what do I need to start kind of thinking about when someone starts structuring what they do and what their skill set is? What are the proper questions I need to sort of, or what sort of mindset do I need to be in terms of figuring out questions to lead to better conversation, right? Kind of like almost like a podcast, right? It's like it's a mini podcast where you're trying to extract information, but in a meaningful and deep way, right? It's not just like, this is not just a transaction. It's really trying to, when you're building this sort of network of people that these are people that almost in a way should be friends of yours to a certain degree. Like you need to really kind of like, really connect with this person, or else it does feel transactional. And then it will feel like, why do I want to work with this person? Because it's like every time they're asking me for something and it's never the other way around or something like that. You know what I mean? But when you start to build this relationship that's more of a two-way street, that's where the greatness happens. That's where the great things, the great projects, the great opportunities really show forth. And I think, there are, as corny as it may seem, there are things you could do behind closed doors to help you just in that sort of social interaction piece. I forget the individual's name. I think you sent me you shared a video with me on Instagram. I forget the individual's names, but he's always talking about like the way like talking. Right, he's always giving like lectures on.
Oh
on
yeah.
Piece.
I sent that to you like earlier today.
Yeah. But it reminds me of something that he mentioned. I'll throw it up maybe up on screen if I remember just the individual at least specifically. But he was talking about, for example, of trying to remove the ums and ahs and then replacing that with just pausing. Something as rudimentary as that. Of instead of saying next thought, the next thought, right? Just consciously understand that whenever I'm kind of feeling stuck, don't fill it in with fill it in with a pause, and you will feel a lot more, the conversation will feel a lot more authoritative in terms of your approach. You feel like you will come off as if you really know your stuff, even if maybe you're kind of struggling and you're trying to formulate your thoughts, but you know what you're worth, you know what you know, and sometimes it could be a bit nerve-wracking, maybe speaking with just one-on-one or in front of tens of thousands of people, right? And anywhere in between, but being able to just as something as small as that, right? There's research that you can look into. There's these small little tips that you can find. YouTube University, great place. But there are all these like small little nuggets of just like little tricks and things you could do in terms of getting over that. This is specifically for someone who does feel a little bit more inside themselves and doesn't quite express themselves as much as they would like to in terms of that extrovertedness and being able to kind of reach out. There are things that you can put into place, certain habits that you can put into place that will help you sort of get over that hurdle and be able to push forward.
I agree.
Transitioning a little bit as well and kind of sticking in this realm as well. I know that I remember you mentioned to me that you were heading out to Atlanta. There was an event that you went to.
Fest.
Talk to me a little bit about that in terms of just the idea of like a networking event, right? Other people, and we can also even touch on the perspective event you had as well, and you know, and how similar they are. But talk to me about that in terms of what was that experience like? What are some things that you learned from that? Was this the first time you've ever went to a networking event, really in general, or something like this? And yeah, what are the takeaways that you had? What are the do's and don'ts maybe that you sort of kind of figured out a little bit? Maybe next time that you go, is it worth it in general? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Talking about networking events. So last August, I was at Invest Fest. Shout out Earn Your Leisure. Shout out EYL. Shout out everyone who was out there because, you know, it was just such value being added to everyone who was in the building. It was incredible. So what is in a networking event, right? You have like, again, what is the purpose of networking? Why do I even want to talk to people? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like the same reason of just like I want food, but I don't want to call someone and talk to them.
Yeah,
like I don't I feel like we've all might have had that moment, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'll kind of give you some insight. So for an example, you have a media ultimately you have a media company, right? Yeah. And you're looking to grow, you're looking to expand, right? Just as everyone is, and everyone, regardless if you're looking to make a sale, regardless if you're looking to build your team, regardless if you're an athlete and you're looking for somebody to rebound for you or a school to go to so that you can play, whatever people can help you. You can do things on your own 100%, but people can help you get there faster, right? Because then you don't need to become a master of all trades, right? So the idea of a networking event is literally in the title. It's to network. You're there. Everyone who came to this venue, event, place, whatever, is here to ultimately interact with other people. That's why, you know, it's really funny to me. I'll give you an example. I think the idea of like people being like it's not introverted, but I think the idea of like people not talking to people at like a bar or like a club setting is very like weird to me. I'm like, this is a social place. Yeah, people are
like, this is the point.
This is the point of being here. Like, I don't, you know, whatever. But again, it's a gathering of people who all have, you know, usually some type of networking event has some type of niche. There's some type of event theme ideology behind the event. Right. You know, it'll be a networking event, but it might be a networking event for stylists and models and fashion designers. Right. Versus there might be, like, for an example, there's something called you know, Black Men in Tech, which is they're having an event, or like something like a Culture Con, or something like, you know, Invest Fest, something like Comic Con. Right. Those are all networking events. Those are all just a gathering of people who are all in the same niche, and ultimately are, you know, the idea or the intention of looking to grow is judgmental, or depending on what you want to do, whatever. But ultimately, you're in a room with people who have some type of similar characteristic, right? You might be introverted, I might be extroverted, but we both like business, right? Or we both like fashion, or whatever the theme of the event is. And ultimately, the intention of these events are for people to network, for people to get to know each other, for people to have conversations, for people to, you know, find how. It's funny, you can go to a networking event, but the value that's being added is really judgmental up to you. Are you adding value to people? Are you, you know, is someone adding value to you? Ultimately, it's like, why are you even here? You know what I'm saying? And I go with the intention of that. I go with both of those intentions. I go with the intention of adding value to others, because that's kind of what the whole Perspective platform is about. Right. It's really ultimately about others. It's about adding value. I'm almost giving you the free pass to, like, yo, live your life how you want to. I'm the example. Like, go ahead, here, you can do it too. You know what I'm saying? Right. And while I was out there, I did a lot of interviews with people, you know, something not similar to this, because this is more of a, you know, intimate setting. But I was like, you know, just wireless mic, phone tripod, like, yo, what's your perspective on this event?
Mm-hmm.
And then people would say this, other, there. Oh, and then I'd ask other questions just to gather their perspective.
Yeah.
And ultimately, networking events are for people to grow. They're a foundational piece in building your team, in taking that next step forward. Like maybe you want to build a company, or maybe you already have a company, or whatever it is. Maybe you're a photographer and you're looking to work with fashion designers, and you can get on Instagram and network there. But like, imagine going to an event where you can talk to someone in person.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother vibe. That's a whole nother setting. So InvestFest is something that I've done before.
Okay.
This is the most recent one was the third one that they've hosted in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the very first one.
Oh, okay. What was that like? Was
man, it was. I'll put it to you like this. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Wow.
Why I say that? Because it was so many just black and brown people coming together. I think that there's a narrative, I'm never going to take it to anything racial, but I think that there's somewhat of a narrative that like, we lack that togetherness, even in minorities, in all communities. There's that, like, imagine every person who likes or is entertained by the idea of art coming together at one place and just gathering. It's like, all right, we're all just here in this space. We might as well talk to each other because we all like the same things. Like, oh, you do this, yo, I do this, yo, bro, I could help you. I know somebody did it, and those are the type of conversations. And why do I think it's the most beautiful thing is because the energy, right? And I'm not even trying to take it there, nothing like that, but just the overall, environment. It was set. The setting of the environment it had the intention of everyone connecting. It was set up for you to connect. Like, and it's funny, I was just telling my boy this. I was like, yo, when you walking in the streets of New York and like somebody's looking at you, your first reaction is like, bro, why this man looking at me? Like, what's up with you? Like, you straight? Like, what's good? Like, what's up? And it might come off confrontational. It might come off a little, aggressive. In those settings at InvestFest, bro, everyone who was looking at me was coming off with a positive comment. Yo, bro, I like your fit. Do you know what that does? That starts a conversation.
Absolutely.
And now I met this person who I also think that their fit is fire. Oh, bro, oh, you're into fashion, bro? Oh, yeah, I'm into fashion too. Oh, yeah, oh, what got you in investments? Yeah, I'm into stocks. Oh, I'm into stocks too, bro.
Interesting.
And now we're able to just go back and forth and add value to each other, right? Our goal here was to grow. Our goal here was to come here and talk to people who are into the similar things that we are into, right? Our similar interests, and ultimately grow from that. I want to hear your perspective. Yo, someone came up to me and told me that, like, my whole message and just that they love the brand and the idea, and like they basically explained to me that I allowed them to be themselves. Bro, do you know what that did for me, bro?
Wow.
Bro, I'm about to damn near cry saying that shit. For real, bro. Because I was like, yo, I have such an impact on this person. And I'm just like, wow, like I was able to do that for them, and that's the whole point of a networking event. I'm able to do things for others, others are able to do things for me, and with ultimately the intention of all of us growing.
Yeah,
that's what a networking event is. And like, again, even going back on what we were talking about earlier, like, how can you get better at networking?
Yeah,
go to a networking event, study people. Study yourself. All right. Oh, I noticed I was talking too much. This person ended up leaving. Their vibe changed. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to talk less. Maybe I need to be more confident. Maybe I need to, and it's not even about talking, because there's a lot about listening too.
Right. Yeah. That's. I think that's a huge nugget right there of just like the other side of the coin. I think we haven't necessarily actually touched on too much was because we were on the side of how you come off, right? What are you saying? What are the skills that you're trying to
body language? Everything.
Exactly. Everything that you're giving off is one set. That's 50% of the equation. The other 50% is the listening part, right? Being able to actually be present in that moment. Actually, what's your body language like when they're speaking to you? Something super simple. Once again, a lot of these great people, I just don't quite know their name. I'll throw their picture up on screen. I think it's like Sam something. But I see his videos a lot on TikTok, and that's why I sort of say it. But something as simple, this was something of just like, what feels more connected? One where I'm talking to you, but my phone is in my hand the entire time, or one where I take the phone and I put it in my pocket, even though I'm not looking at my phone.
Right.
I'm not sitting there like, yeah, okay, yeah. Excuse me. But the phone is in my hand, and maybe I'm speaking to you, but I'm like pointing. There's a certain level of this almost gets put on the same pedestal in terms of importance,
right,
that to compare to you.
Yeah.
So already you're kind of looking at the situation of just like, okay, well, maybe this person seems a little busy, or just like, you don't want to mess with this person.
It's a vibe. It's
compared to putting the phone to your pocket, you are the most important person to me right now. You know what I mean? Same thing at a dinner table, right? This is something that I've been trying to consciously do a bit more myself, of just like, when me and my girl go out, and we're sitting at like a restaurant more specifically, I put my phone in my pocket. I'm just like, I don't really care too much like what's going on here, because sometimes
intention setting.
Exactly. And so I think that's really important, of just like the sort of listening aspect when in that conversation, the sort of vibe, for lack of a better word, just the vibe that you give off, in terms of that conversation. Are you truly listening? And then are you truly listening, comprehending, and then formulating your sort of next thought after that? You know what I mean? Is a whole other set of skills that I imagine that you can sort of learn, get accustomed to, and get better at, I think, as a whole.
Yeah. Nah, that's big. I actually want to add on to that.
Yeah.
Everything that we do, like, why are we even shooting this episode? Everything is done, at least for the majority of it comes from an intention. There's an intention that leads to your action. It's like, all right, I want to get to the NBA. All right, why do you want to go to the NBA? Oh, because I want to live this type of lifestyle. Or maybe I want to be this type of person. Whatever the thing is. And it's like, when we're talking about networking events, it's like, why would I even go to a networking event? Well, you tell me.
Yeah.
You tell me. You, like, all right, why do you need to talk to other people? Why, why? Maybe it's because you understand the value that, like, you're not good at photography, so you need a photographer. So you need to talk to a photographer so that he can do what he's good at, and you can do what you're good at. Whatever, little things like that. Is just, I'm big on intention setting, huge on intention setting. You can go to a networking event and not talk to nobody, and just observe. Maybe those are your intentions. Hey, I want to observe. Hey, I like this person's presence. Let me observe how he interacts with other people, or she interacts with other people, and you get better at that. Again, it's like, I'm always connecting the intention to the action. Always. Right. It's like, okay, why are you even observing this person? Because I'm trying to get better. I want to speak like him. I like the way he does that. I like the way she does that. So, you do it from some type of foundation. Yeah. So, yeah.
I love that. I think closing thoughts before we fully wrap up. I just want to know, just generally, who inspires you?
Ooh.
Who's the person that you look to? Who's the beacon in your life that you really try that you look towards, to sort of try to become and one up if possible?
Yeah.
Who's that person that you look for guidance, really, in general? Who's that for you? Loaded question. I know. I'm sorry.
That's a you limit me there, You limit me. If I had to pick one person's tough, man, because there's a lot of inspiration that comes from a lot of, again, I wear many hats, so there's different avenues of people who I'm mostly, it's not trying to be, but the lifestyle and the experience that I'm trying to have for my life definitely comes from a lot of people. In a weird way, I'm, recently building this relationship back. Like, I'm inspired by my dad, bro.
Interesting.
I'm super inspired by my dad, man. He probably, I don't know if he'll ever watch this, but if he ever do, I probably never told him that either. But, like, super inspired by my pops, from a perspective of, like, making it out, like doing it, like striving. You know what I'm saying? Like, my dad was an immigrant, man, and he, he's doing well, and I'm very proud of that. Like, that's something that, like, really fuels me, motivates me. But I could sit here and go into so many people, bro. I could sit here and go into Jay-Z. I could sit here and go into the Larry Jones. I could sit here and go into the Big Sean's, Will Smith. I could sit here and go into so many different people. Rashad and Troy from EYL. Like, man, I'm inspired by so many people, and it's in different ways. Like, it's not like I'm just picking this one person and I'm picking all of their characteristics.
There's like these little things.
Yeah,
about
there's like
them
this
that they
little
do
thing. Yeah,
that,
I like this person. I like the way he talks. But I like this. I like the way this person dresses.
Yeah.
So the person that I said that talks really well, he might not dress good.
Right.
You know, so I'm picking from different persons. I always say that this life is like GTA. It's like Sims. Real life is like Sims. It's like, you know, it's like 2K. You get to pick your attributes.
Yeah.
You know, you get to design the person who you want to be.
Right.
If you want to have a beard, you can have a beard. If you don't want to have a beard, you want to grow out your hair, you can do whatever.
Exactly,
you want to be strong, you could be strong. You could, you know, you could do whatever in this
Mm-hmm.
life. And I think that's so super dope, man. And I'm inspired by so many. I'm inspired by you, bro. I'm inspired by you, like heavy. I've never told you that, but I definitely am, bro.
He never has.
Definitely am. Super inspired by you, just by, bro. I remember when I first pulled up on you. I remember when I first pulled up on you, and we were in this art room, and I was like, yo, there's no way that he just built a light setting with cardboard.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. God. Yes. It's still there to this day. I finally upgraded. Just letting you know. But
that's inspiring to me,
remember
bro.
That
was so fire to me.
I remember you commenting on that, and I can't remember exact words, but I did kind of get this sense of just like, I feel like he respected that.
Yeah, I did.
I feel like he respected the fact that, like, whatever it takes, bro. I'll just figure some shit out.
Yeah, bro. That's what I mean. I love that, bro. I am so behind that. I'm like, with whatever. I see you doing everything you got to do to make all of your visions and come true. Like, you know, it's just showing some stuff that we ain't even gonna talk about the other day. You know, and that was like, again, you finding the resources, you doing all the stuff that you got to do, and you know that, again. We're here to talk about networking, right? So my intention with networking is to have a strong enough network that I can do whatever I want. What do I mean by that? I'm big on freedom in my life, right? That's like one of my like core, you know, foundational factors. Like, I want to be free, man. I want to do, like, if I want to do something, I want to do it. I don't want to have anything that's limiting me. If I want to freaking jump on a jet, like, we out. What does it take? Money? All right, let's go get the money. Oh, whatever. I want to go see my mom and feel love. All right, I'll go see my mom, and if I want to feel excited, I want to feel excitement. If I want to freaking be in bed all day, I want to be in bed all day.
Yeah.
I want the freedom to be able to do that. And you know, jumping into that ideology of freedom, it's like, I want to have a strong enough network where I'm able to do that. If I wanted to start a freaking coding company, I want to know someone who has a coding company who can guide me to do that. If I wanted to become the world's next tennis star, I'm going to find someone who plays tennis who's ultimately going to either help me get there, introduce me to someone else who can get me there, whatever the thing is. If I want to have an event and I need photographers, and I need videographers, and I need models, bro, I want to have a strong enough network where I can just contact the people that I've met and talked to so that I can make the things that I want happen in my head. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So that's what networking is to me. Like, it's having just that it's having the resources. Networking is equivalent to having resources. That's what I could say. And you know, bro, we're here because of you, you know, for real on the low. Like, we're making this happen off the strength of you, off the strength that I know you. Yeah, I met the people at this department that allowed us to do, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it all came out of some type of resource. It all came out of some type of intention. You know, I think those are really big key words for this episode, is just intentions, and understanding how your network can allow you to meet your intentions. Right? Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. No, honestly, I think there's a lot in there to unpack. There's a lot of just gold nuggets in there, just really in general. And the whole concept of networking really, for you, I just want to, you know, give you your flowers for a second once again of
Thank you, bro.
This whole idea that a lot of the things that we talked about, Naguy has really opened my eyes to that. You know what I mean? Whether he did it directly of letting me know, or just seeing him work, seeing the end results that have happened through the sort of the actions that he does, whether subconsciously or consciously, the power in that. He's really sort of shown me that. So I want to give you flowers on that, and just that whole concept as a whole. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. Please let the people know, where can they find you?
For sure.
and all that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Perspective. What do you got coming up? Anything special?
Of course. So, be on the lookout. You can find Perspective. You can find a whole bunch of perspectives at perspective.exp. Just like that, perspective.exp on YouTube. It has like 4 P's. On the other socials, it only has 1. Projects that are coming up. We got this podcast launch that's about to happen. Working on a documentary, on a basketball related documentary, and also what other projects we got going on? I
gotta see what's going on with that. The documentary stuff.
Yeah. We got a couple things going on, but ultimately, another Perspective event is in the works. I can't give too many details because I don't have a date yet, but it's in the works. Perspective events, they're really an experience. So for sure, super fire. My personal page at Who Garden JR, Who WHO Garden GUARDIN JR. Each page will lead you to the next. And yeah, man, it's love. I think the thing that I want to leave people with today is that is really to set your intentions. I think that's the biggest thing that has really like separated me from other people. Is just understanding what I want, man. Understanding, setting my intentions. And then once I set my intentions, it's like I don't need to have the answers of how to get there, because like the universe will kind of guide me there. But once I know what I want, I'm able to then like curate the things that'll get me there, the things that I think that'll get me there, right? So for an example, I'm a person who I'm very positive, optimistic minded. So the type of settings that I walk into when I go somewhere, right? Let's say I'm walking into an office. The type of questions that I ask people, I'll be like, "Yo, how's your mental? Tell me 2 things you're happy about today." Whole time I'm like formatting the room for my preference.
Right.
I'm getting you to stimulate thoughts of happiness because I want to be in a happy environment. So again, just being real intentional. Understanding that networking opens doors. Networking is having a lot of resources. How can you become better at networking? Become better at figuring out yourself. Yeah.
Love that.
That's a perspective right there.
Yes. Alrighty. Appreciate you guys watching. That has been episode 2 with Naguy. Once again, thank you so much for joining us and giving your tidbits just on the idea of networking in general, habits, intentions, all that fun stuff. There's a lot of nuggets in here, so make sure watch the episode back. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff here to unpack and to do more research in. So feel free to continue just being a creative, really, in general. We love you, we appreciate you, and we hope to see you next time.
Let's get it.
Have a good one. Peace out.
Perspective.